Welcome to your 20-minute podcast with David Brower, where we do our best to give you useful information in 20 minutes or less. Now, here's your host, 5-time Voice Arts Awards nominee, David Brower.
Thanks, Allan. This is David Brower with your 20-minute podcast. Our special guest today, Wayne D. McFarland, author from Tales from the Day, a fellow Coloradoan just down the road in Colorado Springs. So we're both kind of freezing our rumps off today, huh, bud?
Boy, you're not kidding. 5 degrees? I left Minnesota to get away from this.
Well, welcome to the show. My wife got up and went skiing at Loveland Ski Area today, and when she got there, it was 2 below, and I'm going, oh, have fun. I'll be here with the dog. Oh, my gosh.
Light the fire.
Right? Light the fire. That's exactly
heat
right.
Up the hot chocolate. That's it for me, yeah.
I'm intrigued by your book, man. It's Tales from the Day, life-shaping events that, truth be told, all happened under the heading of Oops. I want to read this one paragraph from your book. It says, Wayne McFarland wandered away from a small Midwestern town some years ago with no planning at all. His history is one of stumbling into one bog after another, from the Dakotas to California, from Pamplona to Paris. His main claim to fame is mostly and surprisingly not being dead, plus getting involved with a lot of strange stuff, usually unwillingly or by accident, hence the word oops. Where did this all come from, man? This is like, I'm laughing my rear off and I haven't even opened the book yet.
Well, thanks. Actually, where it came from was that a lot of people who are getting more mature these days suddenly wake up at the dead of the night and think the world is gasping with anticipation to hear how life really was, and no one cares.
Right?
Yeah. So when I was talking to some of my friends about this stuff, I thought, if you can't write about the craziness of life, not about the old days of playing kick the can or putting skates on your shoes with a skate key, if that's all you got, you don't have anything.
Right.
Life, in my view, is full of just a lot of craziness. And most of what happens is you don't plan it. You just kind of wander along. And if you get out there, things happen. And if you got the eyes to see it, it has some kind of universal appeal, I think, even if it's just because it's nuts.
Well, and being open to that stuff has got to be the trick. I mean, we all walk through life and don't even see stuff that's right in front of our face. And so for you to be open to these amazing stories is what fascinates me.
Well, thanks so much. Yeah, I used to get free beer regaling people in bars with some of these stories. And I thought, well, maybe I can regale people on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Yes, David, that was a shameless plug.
As it should be.
And so I put these together, and most of them aren't very long. I mean, how much space do you need about blowing town with a monkey, leaving Minnesota?
Right.
Yeah, with a monkey.
Exactly.
You don't need a lot of room. Right?
No, you don't. And here's this will give you an insight to his humor, folks. When you open up a book normally and you get to the copyrighted material page, and of course it has all the legal stuff, all rights reserved, blah, 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 first printing. And then it says, this is a memoir, not a work of fiction. Any resemblance to actual persons living or dead or actual events is intentional. I love that.
Well, thanks. My publisher gave birth to a live cow.
God!
When I did that, yeah,
right?
It was not exactly a normal thing, but I thought, why? It's all true stuff. I changed a few names now and again.
Sure.
There to keep people out of jail, but that's about it.
So when did your journey start? How young or old were you?
Well, I think probably the oldest story here was taking a trip with a buddy of mine to Trinidad, where he lived. He's an Olympic runner, and we ended up after a series of misadventures, his uncle taking us down to the beach one night in the dead of night and having us take our pants off so we could stand in the surf and shark fish in our underwear.
Oh, my God.
Now, you only do that kind of stuff when you're pretty young. And one of the very few pieces of advice I have in my book is piece of travel advice is if you go somewhere and you're doing something that in your own hometown would be considered completely crazy, you probably should not be doing it.
Whoops, too late for you.
Whoops. Yeah, no kidding. And that evening ended when the uncle caught a huge, I think a moray eel, and we took it home, and yes, we ate it. It was pretty good, as I remember.
I'll be darned.
So,
I'll be darned. And what's your most recent oops, your most recent experience?
Well, probably one about, we recently sold a business we had, and we created movies and kind of PowerPoints with audio for corporations, and later on wrote software for them and various things. So one thing I found out early on, which I suspect you have as well in, doing your promotional work, is that when you're discussing creative ideas, don't do it before you have the deal.
Oh, yeah.
Because once you have, once you have the deal, if somebody doesn't like what you have to say, they just go, well, give me another idea. I didn't like that. But if you do it before you get to have the deal, it could cost you the deal. So
absolutely. Always get the deal.
Always. And so I hired this young guy to be a sorcerer's apprentice, and I explained all this to him. And we had nailed a really juicy contract, David. I mean, one of those that involve, clackers and overhead shots and crew.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're going down to get the deal, and I explained all this to him, and I said, look, just be a fly in the corner. You're going to be working with this guy. And remember, no discussion of any creative ideas at all until he hands us the contract.
Yeah.
So we get there, and the guy, he built this sprinkler company, David, from nothing. I mean, from being a one-person gardener to this international corporation.
Wow.
So, yeah. Oh, he's tremendous. I liked him very much. And so we're going to do this movie about his thing, And he has the contract, and he says, well, first thing first, let's ink this thing and get started. And as he's starting to sign his name, he says, ideas yet about how you're going to approach this? And I started to do, well, no, we bring in a team, and we bring in, people. But my new assistant goes, well, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
And and my heart stopped,
Right.
So now the guy puts down his pen. What are you going to do? And I started, well, no, we don't want to talk about that now, whatever. And he says, no, this guy has to say. So he turns to my young assistant. He says, what do you think we should do? And my young assistant, he gets up and he says, okay. He was a recent grad of USC Film School, right? So he gets up and he looks into the sky and he says, we open with a shot of the sun, the giver of all life. And the guy's going, yes. And then we pan down to a green field being watered by your products. And the guy's going, yeah, then what? He says, then we pan down through the soil into the good, rich humus of Mother Earth. And the guy's going, and my assistant says, and then we focus in on your mascot. And the guy says, what is it? And my assistant says, an earthworm.
Oh, no.
And I mean to tell you, if you've ever heard the old question about what happens when you drop dog doo in the punch bowl,
yep,
I can tell you what happens is this massive silence. And this guy looks up at me and he says, do you mean to tell me that you think I spent 40 years of my life working to be represented by a worm?
Wow.
And that, as they say, was that.
Exactly. So what happened to your assistant if he's still alive?
Well, he was the scion of a very, very wealthy family in the unregulated business. And so I'm kind of ashamed to admit it, in my entire life, I ran businesses for a while. There's only been one human being I've ever fired when we walked outside of a meeting, and that was him.
Yeah. Understood.
And he went back. I was so heartbroken. It was probably one of the best deals I'd ever put together, and it could have been really something.
Yeah.
And he went back home, and eventually he had a meteoric rise and became president of his family's vitamin supplement business.
I'll be darned. There you go. End of story.
Yeah.
Did he have an earthworm as a mascot?
I hope so. Either that or an eel. One of the two.
One of the two. That's funny, man. So how long's your book been out?
Well, it's pretty recently birthed. It was launched toward the end of November of last year.
Nice.
So we're just starting to get a word out on it. I am very pleased to tell you that another shameless plug here.
Please do.
Tales from the Day. Yeah, Tales from the Day on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. The reviews have been very kind.
They have been. I've been reading them, and it's all 5 stars on Amazon, and high praise. I mean, high praise. When somebody references you to Will Rogers, I mean, seriously. Seriously, how does that work?
Well, I've made a mental vow that I will never fly in a small plane with a one-eyed pilot. This is how he met it.
Well said. Well said.
So yeah, it's only been out for a short time, so we're kind of waiting to see overall how it does. And I keep sending copies to the Coen brothers, but they keep sending them back. I mean,
well, that's not very nice. Come on.
No, I mean, you got to have a sense of humor.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, autograph it Will Rogers and then send it to him.
Well, that might work. No Country for Old Men, right?
Exactly. So, are you doing any promotions? I mean, are you speaking to people? What are you just in the let's get this thing up and running mode right now?
Well, really, my main interest in doing promotions, I was invited to tell a couple of these tales in some theaters in Denver and some other places. But I'm mainly interested in finding people like, you,
mm-hmm.
and being able to talk with them. And I'm splitting that between in a fit of drunkenness, the publishers asked me to see if I can create a second follow-up book. So I'm writing up some more
nice.
Tales. But I'll run out eventually.
Are you sure?
Limited. Well, unless I start making stuff up, which I've already been accused of. So,
Well, when you read through some of the chapter titles, the day my grandfather was tagged as a psychopath, the day I had a hot date and we fell out of the sky, the day we blew town with a monkey, the day Johnny Cash hit on my wife. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, that was. David, I got to tell you, to this very day, she will not tell me what he said to her.
How funny.
What we were doing. It was kind of a spin-off from some of our corporate work where we did a lot of. Now it's old hat. I mean, you're in the production side, but where you put visuals up on kind of a backdrop screen to band that.
Sure.
At the time, it was when we were invited to get involved with kicking off a country music show.
Okay,
and it was live to about a third of the country and whatever. So it was the production side of it was kind of a hilarious disaster. Which yes, you have to buy my book to read.
Of course.
The punchline with Cash is that's the only name drop in the entire book. And the poor guy, I love his music.
Yeah,
he's gone now, of course.
Yeah.
But anyway, and he was, rumored really not to screw around. So
right.
So I got out of the backstage bar following our rather interesting presentation, which again is in the book.
In the book.
And here's this huge group of people standing around something. I couldn't see, so I get up on the scaffold, and there in the center of the group, the old guy in a black outfit, and my wife. And by the time I get down, now mind you, Gloria had come out to see the show. I'd lied really spectacularly to tell her Tulsa, Oklahoma was great. And she's getting her PhD at the time in molecular biology. I mean, I can hardly say it.
Right.
Yeah. My plane doesn't fly up there, really.
Exactly.
So she was not exactly into the music scene. So I get down and the crowd's dispersed, and I walked up to her and I said, "Well, do you know who that was?" And she looked at me and she kind of shook her head. And I said, "What did you say?" And she said, just a bunch of nonsense. That's all she's ever said to me about it.
Oh my God.
And, I've been picking on it. Yeah. And so then I said, "You sure you don't know who that was?" And she said, "No." I said, "That's Johnny Cash." And she looked at me, and I swear to God, serious.
Yeah.
She said, "Who's Johnny Cash?"
Oh my God.
I mean, yeah, she's a molecular biologist.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And I
funny.
I just thought, well, there's one for the book.
Yeah. Well, I gotta bust your chops on one thing though, man. You name dropped 2 people, not just Johnny Cash. You name dropped Mickey Mouse.
Oh God, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But I figure as a cartoon character, there's no slander to be had.
Oh, that's funny. So you got like 19 chapters, 19 stories, and it's just funny. I mean, gosh almighty, I just, seriously, if I'm not much of a book reader. In fact, I had an interview with a guy a couple of weeks ago that I was really engaged with, really loved everything about him. He sent me his book. I sat down and read the book. I do audiobooks, and I actually sat down and read the book, and I'm going, well, crap, I'm gonna get Wayne's book. This is silly. How can I not have that, So when are you going to do an audiobook?
Well, actually, they had me do one as the author, and years ago I did a little narration. And if you do audiobooks on an ongoing basis, I gotta tell you, my hat's off to you. Boy, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, I do audiobooks. Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
Wow.
I've done, not very often. I've done about 6 or 7 of them, but yeah.
That's a lot. David, any particular genre or?
No, I think they're all pretty much true story stuff. There's, there's one about a biblical thing. There's one about Alex Spanos who, came from Greece, and it was his autobiography and how he owned the San Diego Chargers, and true, history of the Christian religion from a historical point of view. Just really interesting, weird, off the wall stuff.
Well, here's what I'm going to do. I get the second book done, which we're calling, wait for it, Tales 2. There's an innovative. Yeah. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mail you the only gun I have. It's the Glock, and I'll send a clip. And if I agree to narrate it myself, just shoot me and put me out of my misery.
Done.
I'll give you a call, and I'll say, David, this is yours.
Well, at least let me audition for it, man. I would love to. That'd be so much fun.
Well, I think it'd be a hoot. I'm hoping.
So I got a question though about the sequel. Why isn't it called Tales from the Night?
Well, I really haven't had any of those kind of experiences, and don't start.
Your wife's online too, by the way.
Yes, exactly. Saying, that's a lot of nonsense,
that's funny. That is so funny.
Oh, that's great.
Oh my gosh. Tales from the Day, and you can go to talesfromtheday.com. You can go to amazon.com. You can go to probably Barnes & Noble, right?
That's absolutely true.
And where else? Probably all you need.
Yeah, that's all you need. And they're around in a lot of different bookstores that primarily are online stores, and they pretty much feed from the big guys. So,
yeah, absolutely.
And you can leave a review there or go to my blog and send me an email. The only thing I ask for, a friend of mine, he said his worst review was 2 words: "It sucks."
Oh
so
my gosh.
So if someone's inclined to write a review like that, do like 3 words.
Yeah.
It really sucks.
There you go. Yeah, make it impactful.
Yes, exactly.
Don't dilly-dally. Come on, just let's go.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. So where can they find your blog?
Well, it's, you mentioned it, they just go online to www.talesfromtheday.com.
Okay.
And, yes, my picture is there, which makes the journey worthwhile.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
I can be contacted through that, leave emails.
There you go. Interviews, storytelling, speaking engagements.
That's which I wish would. I know they're going to come rolling in.
Here we go.
There we go.
Hang on for the ride, brother.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, this is we're just reaching the top of the roller coaster ride with this. I'm just really enjoying this. Had a couple that are pretty off the wall. I don't think I should mention. Let's just say one of them involved flying saucers.
There you go.
I wasn't quite sure how to bend the book around that.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
Hey, this has been so much fun, Wayne. I just really appreciate taking the time with you, and you taking the time with me. It's just been a kick in the butt to talk to you, talk about your book, your life, and I can hardly wait for the sequel, man.
Oh, thank you so much, David. I really appreciate it very much.
Listen to Your 20-Minute Podcast with David Brower on the go. Downloads are available on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, any podcast app, and on our website at davidbrowervo.com/Your 20-Minute Podcast. Until next time, thank you for listening.